the increases actually range from 14% in respect of the workers of the highest classifications and 24% for those of the lower groups, right? So that it is significantly more than 9. 9 actually is something of a mask that the government would rather use for fear of really communicating the degree to which workers here were able to extract concessions from them. The second thing is, I would hardly say that me and the team won those increases. The perspective I insist on, even when talking with workers, in particular in talking with the workers, is that the victory is theirs. Were it not for their involvement, for the struggle, for the ownership they assumed of the negotiations as they were encouraged to, there would have been no such result possible to be reported on, to be discussed as we do it right now. So it is fundamentally a matter of the workers themselves, yes, in the context of organization involving leadership and so on. But it doesn't take away from the fundamental fact that it is the workers themselves that landed the results that we're talking about right now. So those two things I wanted to clarify. What actually are the results of the negotiations, and who really responsible for those results?
The period under review, one, and the upcoming period, the overlap, I am certain is not the intention for this period under review, the next negotiation, to take this long.
That's our hope, and indeed it is our intention to avoid that. I say hope for this reason. On the last occasions, proposals were submitted in a timely manner, on time. But what happened is that the employer here had to submit their proposals as well as ours to another entity, the Cabinet Interministerial Team, that creature that has been in existence across administrations over the years, for approval. And matters sat at the level of that team, a team that involves the CPU, for about a year and a half before they began discussions with us. And that was the fundamental contributor, the major contributor to the delay, the lapse of time that caused us now to be concluding that contract deep into the period of the succeeding contract. Workers are more aware now of what is required of them when faced with such delays and such excuses for the delays. And I expect that they will respond militantly in these circumstances.
What's the relationship to the leadership, if I may use the term, of the PSA, seeing that you all went along a different path and were, set a benchmark, so to speak? You literally broke the cap.
Right. I can't say that I'm aware of any overt issue in respect of the leadership. I must say, however, that for us it was never a matter of a fait accompli, that given that 5% was accepted for the public service, that is what would have been expected in our negotiations. The fact that we at the NIB constitute a separate bargaining unit, the logic of it is that we would have separate negotiations, and if we had to have a separate exercise in negotiating, then expectedly there should be a whole set of different considerations with different possibilities in terms of outcome. We knew from the start that 5% was no-go for us. We made that crystal clear to the president of the PSA. And the we to whom I refer really is the workers. I remember on occasions at general meetings attended by scores of workers here, when the matter came up for discussion, and the president would have intimated an intention at settling for 5%. The workers' response was a robust no. They would have no part of any talk of 5%. That was the resolve that existed at the mass level. And that is what was carried through the negotiations at its different phases, fought at different levels, in different ways. That was the consideration carried through, that we would have nothing to do with 5%. Indeed, our horizons were very much higher than 5%.